Hi, everybody. Before we start the story, please click the like button and subscribe to our channel. Also, tell us in the comments where you are watching from and what time it is. If you do that, YouTube will keep showing you more stories like this one. Okay, let's start now. The thing wearing my dead partner's face smiled at me through the research station window, and its teeth were too long. I'd buried Marcus 4 days ago, in a shallow grave, 200 yards from the station, buried him after the generator accident took half his skull. But here he stood in negative 42-degree darkness, breath fogging the glass in patterns that spelled words I couldn't read. I'd been alone at the Yukon Flats research station for 96 hours. The winter night here stretches for months, and we were only 3 weeks into the darkness when Marcus died. December 17th, 2022. I remember because I carved the date into the door frame after I dragged his body outside, my hands shaking so badly the numbers looked like they'd been scratched by something with claws. The nearest help was in Fairbanks, 273 miles south. Our satellite phone died the same night Marcus did. The backup radio crackled with nothing but static and what might have been screaming, very far away. I tried it 47 times before I stopped counting. Marcus, the thing that looked like Marcus, tapped on the window with fingernails that scraped frost into spirals. His eyes were wrong, still blue, but too blue, like they were lit from behind by something cold and electric. His lips moved, forming my name. The sound came through the triple-pane glass, through the insulated walls, through the howling wind that hadn't stopped since he died. "Daniel, let me in. I'm so cold." His voice was perfect. The slight lisp on the S, the way he always pronounced my name like a question. Everything about it was Marcus, except that he was dead and frozen and buried under 4 feet of permafrost and ice. I checked the grave that morning, checked it every morning since I put him there, terrified and hoping I'd been wrong, that he'd been alive, that I'd made a horrible mistake. But the snow over his grave was undisturbed. The rocks I'd piled on top hadn't moved. Whatever stood at the window wearing Marcus's body hadn't come from that hole. The temperature inside the station was 68 degrees. Outside, the thermometer read negative 42 and dropping. Wind chill made it feel like negative 79. Nothing living should be outside. Nothing living could be outside. Exposed skin would freeze solid in under 3 minutes. Marcus wore only the thermal shirt and jeans he'd died in. No coat, no gloves, no boots. His bare feet left no prints in the snow. I watched him through the window, my hands wrapped around a mug of coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. The station's generator hummed its steady rhythm, the only sound besides the wind and my breathing and the tap-tap-tap of Marcus's fingernails on glass. "I know you can hear me, Daniel. I just want to come inside. Don't you miss me?" I did miss him. God, I missed him so much it felt like something was eating me from the inside out. Marcus had been my research partner for 3 years. My friend, maybe more than that, though we'd never said it out loud, never crossed that line. And now he was dead, and something was using his face to get me to open the door. "You're not Marcus," I said. My voice sounded strange, small and hollow after days of silence. The thing tilted its head exactly the way Marcus used to when he was thinking. "Marcus is dead. I buried him. You made a mistake. I wasn't dead. I was cold, unconscious, but not dead. You buried me alive, Daniel. You left me in the ground to freeze and suffocate. But I dug my way out. I forgive you. Just let me in." The guilt hit me like a physical blow. I'd been so sure. The blood, the bone, the absolute stillness of his body. But what if? No. I checked for a pulse, breathing. I'd performed CPR for 40 minutes until my arms gave out and I was sobbing into his chest. Marcus was dead. This was something else. "Prove you're Marcus. Tell me something only he would know." The thing smiled wider. "You have a scar on your left hip from when you fell through ice in Lake Superior during grad school. You told everyone you got it from a hiking accident because you were embarrassed. You talk in your sleep. You say your sister's name, Emily, and you cry. She died when you were 17, and you still blame yourself for not being there. You're scared of dogs because one attacked you when you were 6. You count your steps when you're nervous. You've been counting them since I died. My coffee mug slipped from my hands and shattered on the floor. Hot liquid splashed across my boots, but I barely felt it. Marcus knew all of that. Only Marcus knew all of that. Let me in, Daniel. Please. It's so cold out here. I took a step toward the door, then another. My hand reached for the lock. The thing's smile stretched too wide, splitting its face in ways human skin shouldn't split. That's it. Just a little closer. I stopped. What happened to the satellite phone? The smile faltered. The satellite phone. How did it break? Silence. The wind howled. The thing wearing Marcus's face stood perfectly still, not shivering, not breathing fog anymore. It just stopped working, it finally said. Wrong. We never had a satellite phone. I lied to you. Marcus would know that. The thing's face began to change. The skin rippled like water. The eyes went from blue to black to something with no color at all. The mouth opened and kept opening, unhinging like a snake's jaw, showing rows of teeth that spiraled down into a throat that went deeper than any throat should go. I ran, stumbled over the broken coffee mug, felt porcelain slice through my jeans into my shin, kept running. The thing shrieked a sound like metal tearing, like ice cracking, like every scream I'd never screamed condensed into one horrible note. I locked myself in the equipment room, pushed a filing cabinet against the door, grabbed the flare gun from the emergency kit, and held it with both hands to keep them from shaking. The station went silent. No wind, no generator hum, nothing. Then I heard it walking through the station. Heard doors opening. Heard my name whispered from a dozen different mouths in a dozen different voices. My mother. My sister Emily. My own voice calling to myself. Daniel. 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 It found the equipment room door. The handle turned slowly. The filing cabinet scraped backward an inch. Then another. I fired the flare gun at the door. The flare punched through the metal, through whatever stood on the other side. Something screamed. The smell of burning meat and chemicals filled the air, mixed with something else, something that smelled like ozone and rotting flowers and deep water. The door stopped moving. I waited, flare gun empty, breathing in ragged gasps. Hours passed, maybe days. Time felt wrong, stretched and compressed. The darkness outside the station's windows never changed. It could have been one night or 100 nights compressed into an eternal moment. When I finally opened the door, the station was empty. No sign of the thing. No Marcus, no tracks. The window where it had stood was covered in frost, but underneath the frost were handprints. Dozens of them. Hundreds. All different sizes. Pressed against the glass from the inside. I checked the grave again. Still undisturbed. Marcus was still down there, frozen and dead, and exactly where I'd left him. But when I went back inside and looked at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, I saw that my eyes had changed. They were too blue now, lit from behind by something cold and electric. I picked up the broken radio and tried it one more time. This time, someone answered. Hello? Is someone there? The voice was mine. My exact voice. I'm at the Yukon Flats research station. My partner is dead. I've been alone for days. Please, I need help. I think something's wrong with me. I think I'm becoming... I turned off the radio and threw it across the room. That was 6 weeks ago. The sun should have risen by now. It's February 3rd, 2023. The winter night should be ending. But it's still dark outside, still negative 42 degrees, still howling wind and endless cold. And sometimes, when I look out the window, I see myself standing in the snow, wearing the clothes I'm wearing right now, smiling with too many teeth. He waves at me. I wave back. I don't know which one of us is real anymore. This morning I found tracks leading away from the station, toward the south. Barefoot tracks in the snow. My size. They lead toward Fairbanks, toward civilization, toward people. I'm still inside the station. I've been inside since I locked the door weeks ago. But someone's walking toward Fairbanks, wearing my face, and I don't think they're going there for help. I tried the radio again today. Someone answered immediately. Yukon Flats Research Station. This is Fairbanks Emergency Services. We received your distress call. A rescue team departed your location 3 hours ago with your partner Daniel. He said you were suffering from isolation psychosis. They're bringing you home. They should arrive any minute. I told them I was Daniel. I told them I never sent a distress call. I told them not to let whatever was coming into the city. They hung up. They thought I was crazy. I can hear the rescue team's snowmobiles now, getting closer. I can hear them calling my name, not calling for Daniel, calling me by my name, but they're calling me Marcus. They think I'm Marcus. They think I'm the dead one. The thing that looks like me is with them. I can hear it telling them about poor Marcus, about how the isolation drove me mad, about how I buried my partner alive, and now I'm suffering delusions. They're at the door. They're breaking down the door. They're going to take me somewhere, a hospital, a cell, somewhere far from here. And the thing wearing my face is going to go free. It's going to walk into Fairbanks, and then Anchorage, and then who knows where, spreading like infection, becoming more people, taking more faces. I'm writing this on the last page of the research log. If someone finds this, if someone reads this, know that I tried to warn them. Know that I was Daniel Marsh, meteorological researcher, and I died at the Yukon Flats Research Station on December 17th, 2022. What walked away from here wearing my face is something else entirely. They're in the station now. They're calling me Marcus. They're telling me it's okay, that I'm safe, that they're taking me home. The thing that looks like me is smiling. Its eyes are too blue. I can feel my own face starting to change. The aurora borealis answered my radio transmission at exactly 2:37 a.m. on January 9th, and it used my daughter's voice to tell me I was going to die in 4 hours. I was 73 miles north of Deadhorse, alone in my semi-truck on the Dalton Highway, hauling drilling equipment to the Arctic Ocean when the lights started talking. I'd been driving the Haul Road for 16 years, seen the northern lights 1,000 times, green curtains dancing across the black sky, sometimes red, sometimes purple, always beautiful, always silent. They'd never spoken before, never formed words in the static of my CB radio, never said, "Daddy, don't stop driving. If you stop, they'll catch you." My daughter Rachel was 700 miles south in Anchorage, safe in her college dormitory, studying engineering. She had no way to contact me, no reason to warn me, no reason to sound so terrified. Breaker 1 to 9. This is Caribou Charlie. Anyone copy? I tried the CB again. Nothing but static and the aurora's voice underneath it, whispering things I couldn't quite hear. The lights outside intensified. Sheets of green and violet rippled across the sky, brighter than I'd ever seen them. So bright they illuminated the tundra like daylight. The road ahead stretched empty. No other trucks, no cars, nothing but permafrost and dwarf willows and darkness beyond the aurora's glow. My dashboard clock read 2:39 a.m. If what the lights said was true, I had 3 hours and 58 minutes left. The CB crackled. "Daddy, they're in the truck with you. Look in your mirror." I adjusted my rearview mirror. The sleeper cab behind me was dark, but in the aurora's green light filtering through the windows, I could see something sitting on my bunk, something shaped like a person but wrong. Too tall, too thin, arms that bent in too many places. I slammed on the brakes. The truck skidded on black ice, fishtailed, jackknifed. I fought the wheel, felt the trailer swinging out, felt gravity and physics and luck conspiring against me. Then the truck straightened and stopped in the middle of the road, engine still running, headlights cutting through the green-lit darkness. The thing in my sleeper cab didn't move. I grabbed my flashlight and bear spray, kept it for brown bears and grizzlies, not for things that shouldn't exist. My hands shook as I pointed the light toward the back of the cab. Empty. Just my sleeping bag and thermos and the magazine I'd been reading during my last rest stop. No impossible figure. No thing with too many joints. The CB hissed. "Don't turn around, Daddy." I turned around. The thing stood outside my driver's side window, face pressed against the glass. It wore a parka identical to mine. Carhartt brand, brown, same grease stain on the left sleeve. Its face was my face, but younger, smoother, with eyes that reflected the aurora in spirals. It smiled. Its teeth were translucent, like ice. "Give me the wheel," it said. Its voice came from everywhere, the CB, the wind, the truck's engine, my own throat. "Give me the wheel, and I'll let you sleep." Don't you want to sleep? I did want to sleep. God, I wanted to sleep so badly. I'd been driving for 11 hours straight, pushing legal limits, trying to make the delivery deadline. My eyes burned. My back ached. The road ahead seemed to stretch forever, and the thought of sleep was more tempting than anything I'd ever wanted. No, I put the truck in gear and accelerated. The thing outside my window kept pace, running alongside the truck at 60 miles per hour, still smiling, still wearing my face. 2 hours and 46 minutes, Rachel's voice said from the CB. "They're getting stronger. Who are they? What do they want? We don't know what they want. We only know they come during the dark months, when the lights are brightest. They take drivers. They replace them. We've lost 17 trucks this winter, 17 drivers who reached dead horse, but weren't themselves anymore. We. Who's we? The ones who watch. The ones who try to warn. We live in the lights now, Daddy. We've been here since the accident. Me and Mom and Tyler. We died on the Glen Highway 3 years ago, remember? The ice storm. The semi-truck that crossed the median. You weren't there. You were up here, on the haul road, making another delivery. My vision blurred. The truck swerved. I straightened it out, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. No, that's not you called me. You called me after the accident. I talked to you. You were in the hospital. You talked to something that sounded like me, something that wore my voice. But I died at 11:14 p.m. on November 3rd, 2019. I was 14 years old. I had my whole life ahead of me. The thing outside my window multiplied. Now there were 3 of them, running alongside the truck, then 7, then too many to count, all wearing different faces, all smiling with translucent teeth. The aurora overhead twisted into shapes, faces. Hundreds of faces, maybe thousands, pressed against the sky like prisoners behind glass. Some were recent, clean-shaven, modern haircuts, wearing contemporary clothes in the spirit photographs that formed and dissolved in the lights. Others were older, ancient, fur parkas and bone implements and expressions of eternal terror frozen in curtains of ionized particles. The indigenous people knew, Rachel's voice said. They knew the lights were a doorway. They knew things came through during the dark months. That's why they had rules. Never whistle at the lights, never wave at them, never try to touch them, never travel alone when they dance too bright. I'd broken every rule, whistled at the lights just 3 hours ago, amused by the superstition, drove alone because there was no other choice, marveled at their brightness instead of fearing it. A figure appeared in the road ahead, a woman in a nightgown, bare feet on the ice, arms outstretched. She looked exactly like my wife, Sarah, dead for 3 years but standing in my headlights, solid and real, and calling my name. I swerved around her. The truck's trailer swung wide, clipped something that shouldn't have been solid, shouldn't have screamed. In my mirror, I saw the woman's form dissolve into green light, then reform, then start running after the truck on feet that didn't quite touch the ground. 1 hour and 53 minutes, the CB said. What happens at 6:37? The lights will be at their strongest. The boundary will be thinnest. If they catch you then, they'll pull you through. You'll live in the aurora forever, just like us. You'll watch the living drive past and you'll try to warn them, but they won't listen because they'll think they're hallucinating or going crazy from the isolation. How do I stop it? You don't stop it, Daddy. You survive it. Drive until the lights fade. Don't stop. Don't sleep. Don't let them inside your head. Too late for that last part. My eyelids felt like they were made of lead. The road ahead kept doubling, tripling. I slapped myself hard across the face, bit my tongue until I tasted blood, cranked the heat down to freezing. The things outside the truck changed tactics. They stopped running beside me. Instead, they appeared on the road ahead, forcing me to swerve. A child in pajamas, an old man in a hospital gown, a state trooper waving me down, all of them dissolving when I got close, reforming in the mirror, chasing. "Talk to me," I said to the CB. "I wish I could, Daddy. I wish I'd had more time. I wish you'd been there when we died. I wish a lot of things. I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry." "I know. We know. But sorry doesn't change anything. Sorry doesn't bring us back. Sorry doesn't stop what's coming." The aurora intensified again. The entire sky burned with green fire. The temperature inside my truck dropped, despite the heater running full blast. I could see my breath. Ice formed on the inside of the windows. The things outside pressed against the glass. Dozens of them, all wearing familiar faces. My parents, dead for decades. My brother, killed in Afghanistan. Friends from high school. A girlfriend from college. Everyone I'd ever lost. Everyone I'd ever failed. Everyone who had reason to be angry with me. They weren't angry. They were pleading. "Join us," they said in unison. "Stop fighting. Let go. It's not so bad here. You'll be with us forever. Isn't that what you want?" Part of me did want that. Part of me wanted to stop the truck, open the door, step out into the green light, and let whatever was going to happen happen. I was so tired, so guilty, so ready for it to be over. 27 minutes, Rachel said. "You're almost there. Drive faster." I pushed the accelerator down. The truck's engine roared. 65, 70, 75. Too fast for the conditions, too fast for the curves, too fast to stop if something solid appeared in the road. But I didn't care. The only thing that mattered was speed, distance, survival. The things outside couldn't keep up at 80 miles per hour. They fell behind, dissolving into light, their screams fading into the wind. The faces in the sky dimmed. The ice on my windows began to melt. 12 minutes. The aurora started to fade. Not quickly, slowly, gradually, like a stage light dimming at the end of a performance. The green drained from the sky. Stars appeared. Normal stars, cold and distant and blessedly silent. 6 minutes. My speedometer read 85. The truck shuddered, threatened to shake apart. Something in the trailer made a grinding noise. I didn't slow down. 3 minutes. The last traces of aurora flickered on the horizon. The sky went black. My headlights seemed suddenly bright, suddenly real. The road ahead was just a road again. Empty, normal, no figures, no faces, no things wearing my family's shapes. 1 minute, the CB fell silent. No static, no Rachel's voice, just dead air. 6:37 a.m. came and went. I kept driving. Drove until I reached Dead Horse at 9:43 a.m. Delivered my load, turned in my paperwork. The dispatcher asked if I'd seen anything unusual. What was I supposed to say? That the aurora had talked to me? That my dead family had saved my life? That things wearing human faces had tried to pull me into the sky? He'd think I was crazy. Hell, I thought I was crazy. But when I walked back to my truck, there were scratches on the driver's side door, deep gouges in the metal, like something with very long fingers had tried to claw its way inside. And on my CB radio, someone had left a message. The display showed a timestamp of 6:37 a.m. I played it back. "You made it this time, Daddy," Rachel's voice said. "But they're patient. They've been here for thousands of years. They can wait for the next dark season, the next bright aurora, the next time you drive alone. But eventually, they'll catch you. They catch everyone who drives the haul road long enough. We're all up here eventually, all of us, waiting in the lights." The message ended. I quit that day, told the company I was done, retired, finished. They asked why. I told them I was getting too old for the winter runs. They didn't argue. But sometimes, on clear nights in Anchorage, I see the aurora dancing over the mountains. And sometimes, if the lights are bright enough, I can see faces in them. Rachel, Sarah, Tyler, waving at me, calling me, telling me to come north, come back, come home. I don't know how much longer I can resist. The lights are beautiful. My family is there. And I'm so tired of being alone. Last night, I got in my truck and started driving north. I made it 50 miles before I turned back. Tonight, I think I'll make it further. The aurora is calling me home. I found the village that shouldn't exist on the winter solstice, and everyone inside had been dead for 48 years, but didn't know it yet. The GPS said I was 15 miles east of Nome, but the coordinate didn't match any map I'd ever seen. The village had 19 buildings, 163 residents, and a church with a steeple that cast shadows in the wrong direction. My name is Dr. Sarah Chen. I'm an epidemiologist with the CDC, dispatched to investigate reports of a flu outbreak in western Alaska. The initial report came from a bush pilot who'd flown over the area and seen what he thought was a distress signal, smoke forming the letters SOS over the tree line. When I arrived by helicopter on December 21st, 2022, the smoke was gone, but the village was there, sitting in a valley that wasn't on any map. The pilot, a 40-year man named Tom Brescia, refused to land. "That's not right," he said, circling overhead. "That village isn't supposed to be there. I've flown this route 200 times. That valley is empty. Maybe you missed it before. You don't miss a whole village." But he landed anyway, in a clearing just outside the settlement. "I'll wait 2 hours. After that, I'm leaving with or without you." I took my medical kit and walked into the village. The temperature was negative 31 degrees. The darkness was absolute this close to the Arctic Circle. The winter solstice meant less than 4 hours of twilight that barely qualified as daylight. My headlamp cut through the darkness, illuminating buildings that looked old but maintained. Log cabins with smoke rising from chimneys, a general store with hand-painted signs, the church I'd seen from the air, its cross made of welded metal that gleamed despite the darkness. No electric lights, no power lines, no vehicles except for a few snowmobiles that looked decades old. A woman stepped out of the nearest cabin. She wore a parka made of caribou hide, boots lined with fur. Her face was weathered, mid-50s, with eyes that reflected my headlamp like an animal's. "We've been waiting for you," she said. "They said you'd come." "Who said?" "The voices in the church. They told us someone would come to help when the sickness started." She led me through the village. People emerged from cabins, all dressed in similar traditional clothing, all watching me with eyes that reflected light they shouldn't reflect. 19 buildings, I counted carefully. 163 people, I counted them too. The general store's sign read, "Cache Mountain Trading Post, Est, 1974. "How long has this village been here?" I asked. "Forever," the woman said. Her name was Margaret. She was the village elder, or so she claimed. "My grandfather founded Cache Mountain in 1917. My father was born here. I was born here. Everyone here was born here, or married in, but it's not on any maps. We like it that way. We keep to ourselves. We don't need the outside world." She paused at the church door. "The sick are inside. 17 of them. They started getting sick 3 days ago. Fever, confusion, violence." The church was a single room with wooden pews and a pulpit made of driftwood. But it was the ceiling that made me stop. Someone had painted a mural up there, but instead of angels or heaven, it showed the northern lights, green and purple swirls that seemed to move in the flickering candlelight, and faces in the lights. Hundreds of faces, screaming. The sick lay on the floor, wrapped in blankets. 17 people, ranging from children to elderly, all of them burning with fever, skin flushed red, eyes rolling back. They muttered in their delirium. The same words, over and over. "It's not real. It's not real. We're not real." I examined the first patient, a man in his 30s. Temperature 106, pulse 140, pupils dilated, skin dry despite the fever, classic signs of severe infection. But when I drew blood, it was wrong. Too dark, too thick. It didn't clot right. "When did this start?" 3 days ago, Margaret said. "The winter solstice, the longest night. That's when the voices came back." "What voices?" "The ones in the lights. They come every year on the solstice. They tell us things, remind us of who we are, what we are." A child, maybe 8 years old, grabbed my wrist. Her hand was burning hot. Before we remember. Remember what? Her eyes focused on me, suddenly clear. That we died. That this whole village died on December 21st, 1974. There was a fire. The church burned. Everyone inside burned. But we didn't want to die, so we made a deal with the lights. We'd stay here, in this moment, in this place, forever. But every year on the solstice, the lights remind us, and some of us can't handle it. I pulled back. You can't help us. We're already dead. This whole village is a memory, a ghost. You're the first living person to find us in 48 years. Margaret pulled the child away. Don't listen to her. The sickness makes them say crazy things. Can you help them or not? I wanted to say yes. I wanted to believe this was just a flu outbreak, just a medical mystery I could solve. But everything was wrong. The blood was wrong. The eyes were wrong. The shadows were wrong, cast at angles that didn't match the candlelight, always pointing toward the door, always stretching longer than they should. I checked my watch. 7:43 p.m. Tom would leave at 9:43. 2 hours to figure out what was happening. I went outside to radio the helicopter. Static. Nothing but static. And underneath it, singing, voices in harmony. Singing a hymn I didn't recognize in a language that might have been Inupiaq or might have been something older. The aurora was rising. Green curtains climbed the sky, brighter than they should be, brighter than physics allowed. And in the lights, I saw the truth. The village was burning. Every building, every cabin, the church, all of it consumed by flames. But the flames were frozen, suspended in the moment of maximum destruction. I could see charred wood beneath the illusion of intact logs. Could see bodies in the windows, blackened and twisted. Could see the church roof caving in, but slowly, so slowly, like a photograph of a collapse taken over 48 years. The people of Cache Mountain were moving through a burning village, blind to the fire, living in a moment that never ended. You see it now, the child said. She'd followed me outside. In the aurora's light, I could see through her. See the skeleton inside her flesh. See the char marks on her bones. We've been burning for 48 years. The pain never stops, but we forget it most of the time. We live our lives, day after day, the same conversations, the same meals. But on the solstice, we remember, and it hurts so much. Why? My voice shook. Why would you choose this? Because death was worse. When the fire started, when we realized we couldn't escape, the lights offered us a choice. Burn and die, and go wherever the dead go. Or burn forever but stay here, stay together, stay in the world. But some of us, every year, they want to let go. They want to stop burning. That's the sickness. That's what you can't cure. Margaret emerged from the church, and now I could see her clearly. The burns covering her body, the melted flesh, the exposed bone. She was a walking corpse held together by will and the aurora's power. You shouldn't have come, she said. Living people complicate things. The lights might want to keep you, might want to add you to the village. We could use a doctor, a real doctor, someone who could stay forever and help us forget the pain. I ran, sprinted through the village toward the clearing where Tom was waiting. Behind me, the people of Cache Mountain followed, all 163 of them, no longer bothering to hide what they were. Burned corpses, animated skeletons, things that should have died but refused to. Don't leave, they called. Stay with us. Be part of Cache Mountain. We're so lonely. We've been alone for 48 years. The helicopter was still there. Tom saw me coming, saw what was chasing me. He started the engine. Go now. I dove into the helicopter as it lifted off. Hands grabbed at my boots, burned hands, bone hands. I kicked free. We rose into the air, and below us, the illusion fell away completely. The village was a ruin. Charred foundations, collapsed buildings. The church was nothing but a burned-out shell with bodies still visible inside, frozen in their final agony. But the people still moved through it, still lived their routines, still went through the motions of life in a place that had burned to ash decades ago. Tom flew us back to Nome. Neither of us spoke. When we landed, I filed my report. Flu outbreak, false alarm. Village was abandoned, likely confused by the pilot with another settlement. The CDC accepted my report. Case closed. But 3 days ago, I received a package. No return address. Inside was a photograph of the Cache Mountain trading post, dated December 21st, 2023, exactly 1 year after my visit. In the photograph, standing in front of the store, was me, burned, dead, smiling, and written on the back in handwriting I recognized as my own. Come back to us. The lights are calling. It's time to join the village. I haven't slept in 72 hours. Every time I close my eyes, I'm back in Cache Mountain, burning. I can feel the flames. I can smell my own flesh cooking. I can hear the voices calling me home. The aurora is visible from Anchorage tonight. Bright green curtains dancing over the mountains. And somewhere in those lights, Cache Mountain is waiting. The people are going through their routines, living the same day they've lived for 48 years, burning and forgetting, and burning again. They want me to join them. They want me to be their doctor. They want me to burn forever. I've booked a flight to Seattle, then maybe California, somewhere far from the aurora, somewhere the lights can't reach. But I know the truth. The lights are everywhere. The darkness is everywhere. And Cache Mountain isn't a place anymore. I'm writing this in case I don't make it, in case the lights take me before I can leave Alaska. If you're reading this, if you're in Alaska during the dark months, if you see a village that's not on any map, don't land. Don't investigate. Don't try to help. Some places should stay lost. Some dead should stay dead. And some fires burn forever. The thaw uncovered 17 children who'd been frozen since 1912, and the third one we brought up started breathing. I was part of an archaeological team excavating a historical Inupiaq settlement near Barrow, now called Utiajvik, when the permafrost betrayed us. Climate change had melted layers that should have stayed frozen forever, exposing a mass grave that predated any records we had of the settlement. Dr. Marcus Webb, our team lead, discovered the first body on January 4th, 2023. A child, maybe 7 years old, preserved perfectly by the permafrost. Skin intact, clothes, traditional fur, parka, and mukluks still pliable. Eyes frozen open, staring at nothing. We documented everything, photographed from every angle, prepared for extraction. That's when the child blinked. I saw it. My colleague Jennifer Chen saw it. Marcus insisted we'd imagined it, that it was ice shifting, that frozen eyes don't blink. But we knew what we'd seen. We extracted the body anyway, laid it on our examination table in the climate-controlled research tent. Temperature kept at exactly 32 degrees to prevent rapid decomposition. The child genetic testing later confirmed male, age estimated at 6 to 8 years, remained motionless. We collected samples, hair, fingernails, skin cells, everything we needed for carbon dating and DNA analysis. The carbon dating came back wrong. The samples tested at different ages. Hair follicles dated to 1912, skin cells dated to last week. Impossible. Carbon dating doesn't work that way. We found 16 more children over the next 3 days, all approximately the same age, all buried in a circle around a central pit that contained something else, something we couldn't identify. Organic material, but not human, not animal. Something with a cellular structure that didn't match anything in our database. The children's bodies were all preserved identically. Perfect condition, eyes open, expressions neutral. And all of them, when we weren't looking directly at them, seemed to shift, to breathe, to move their fingers. Preservation artifacts, Marcus said. Ice expansion and contraction, nothing more. But on January 8th, at 2:14 a.m., the third child sat up. I was alone in the research tent, running tissue samples through the mass spectrometer. All 17 children were laid out on examination tables, waiting for transport to Anchorage for more extensive study. The temperature alarm beeped. Someone had left the tent flap open, letting in outside air. The internal temperature had dropped to 12 degrees. I went to close the flap. When I turned back, the third child was sitting upright, head turned toward me. I froze. Every rational thought in my head screamed that this was impossible. The child had been dead for 111 years. Cells don't revive after that long frozen. Brain tissue degrades, muscles atrophy. Death is permanent. The child's mouth opened. Frost and old air exhaled. The voice that emerged was wrong layered, multiple voices speaking in unison, a chorus of children all using the same throat. Thank you for waking us. I ran, stumbled out of the tent into negative 42-degree darkness. The wind hit me like a physical blow. I'd left without my parka, without my gloves. Exposed skin began to freeze immediately. I made it 20 yards before my legs gave out. The child followed me, walked barefoot through the snow, wearing only the deteriorated remains of century-old clothing. "We've been waiting so long," it said. Frozen, dreaming, hungry. The other children emerged from the tent, all 17 of them, moving in synchronized steps, all speaking with the same layered voice. The village elders buried us to stop the infection. They didn't understand. They thought death would contain it. But you can't kill what was never fully alive. I tried to scream. My lungs burned with cold air. My fingers were already numb. Frostbite, hypothermia. I had maybe 3 minutes before I lost consciousness. Marcus found me, dragged me back toward the camp, toward heat and safety. The children watched but didn't pursue. They stood in a circle around the excavation site, holding hands, singing something in a language that predated modern Inupiaq. We locked ourselves in the main habitat, a prefabricated structure with heating, communications, supplies. Jennifer was there, and Dr. Robert Kim, our geologist. 4 of us total. We tried the satellite phone. Dead. Radio. Static. The emergency beacon. Activated, but no confirmation of receipt. What the hell are they? Jennifer's voice shook. They were dead, I said. Carbon dated to 1912. They were dead. They're moving now. We watched through the habitat's windows. The children circled the excavation site, still singing. Their movements were hypnotic, perfectly synchronized, and with each circuit around the pit, they changed, grew, not in size but in solidity. Their features became clearer. Their skin looked healthier, less like preserved corpses and more like actual living children. They're feeding, Robert said. The temperature drop. They're absorbing heat energy somehow, converting it. That's thermodynamically impossible. So are walking corpses, but here we are. The children completed their circle. The singing stopped. They turned toward our habitat, all 17 of them, all with the same expression. Hunger. We need to leave, Marcus said. Now. We had 2 snowmobiles, 4 people. Utiajvik was 11 miles south. We could make it in 30 minutes if we pushed hard. If the snowmobiles started in this cold. If the children let us leave. We bundled in our extreme cold gear, grabbed emergency supplies. Marcus and Jennifer took one snowmobile. Robert and I took the other. We started the engines. They coughed, protested, finally caught. The noise shattered the silence. The children started walking toward us. We accelerated away from the camp, heading south. The snowmobile's headlights cut through the darkness. The snow was hard-packed. Good for travel. We hit 40 miles per hour. 50, 60. The children kept pace, ran alongside us with impossible speed, their small legs pumping, their breath coming in clouds of frost. They weren't tiring, weren't slowing, weren't human anymore, if they ever had been. One of them jumped, landed on Marcus and Jennifer's snowmobile. Jennifer screamed. Marcus swerved. The snowmobile flipped, tumbled, threw both of them into a snowbank. Robert gunned our engine. We have to go back. If we stop, we die. But Marcus was my friend. Jennifer was my colleague. Robert slowed the snowmobile, started to turn back. That's when the ice broke. Not actual ice reality. The night split open. The aurora overhead twisted into shapes that hurt to look at. And things came through. Not children, not anymore. Things that had been using the children's bodies as vessels, as anchors, as doorways into our world. They were made of cold, of absence, of the space between atoms where heat should exist but doesn't. They had forms that shifted, sometimes humanoid, sometimes insectoid, sometimes geometries that existed in dimensions my eyes couldn't process, and they were hungry. Jennifer screamed as one of them touched her. Frost spread across her body instantly. Her parka crystallized. Her skin turned blue-gray. Her eyes froze solid. She fell, and when she hit the ground, she shattered. Marcus tried to run, made it 5 steps before they caught him. He aged as we watched, hair going white, skin wrinkling, body withering. In 30 seconds, he went from 42 years old to ancient, mummified, dead. They were draining everything from him. Heat, time, life itself. "Drive!" I screamed at Robert. "Drive!" We accelerated south. The things pursued. The children's bodies couldn't keep up anymore. The things inside them were burning through the frozen flesh too quickly, consuming the biological material that had anchored them. One by one, the children collapsed, their bodies crumbling to dust, releasing the entities fully into our world. Now nothing held them back. No bodies to maintain, no physical limitations. They came for us as pure cold, pure hunger, pure entropy made manifest. Our snowmobile started to slow. The engine coughed. Ice was forming in the fuel lines, crystallizing the gasoline. The temperature gauge read -45 and dropping, -50, -60. Cold that shouldn't exist outside a laboratory. "We're not going to make it," Robert said. He was right. Utqiagvik was still 7 miles away. The snowmobile was dying. The things were closing in. "Jump!" I grabbed Robert and threw both of us off the snowmobile. We hit the snow, rolled, came up running. Behind us, the snowmobile froze, solid, and stopped. The things swarmed over it. The metal cracked and shattered like glass. We ran, stumbled through snow and darkness, our headlamps cutting weak cones of light. My lungs burned, my legs screamed. But we ran. Lights appeared ahead, actual lights. The things stopped at the edge of town. They couldn't cross into the lights, into the warmth. They stood at the boundary, shapes made of cold and hunger and rage, screaming with voices that were wind and breaking ice and heat death. Robert and I collapsed in the first house we reached. The family inside called for help, wrapped us in blankets, gave us hot drinks. We babbled about the children, the things, the cold. They nodded politely and called for a medevac helicopter. The authorities found our camp 3 days later. Everything was destroyed. The habitat was shredded. The research tent was scattered across a mile of tundra. No bodies. Marcus and Jennifer were listed as missing, presumed dead from exposure. But when they excavated the pit where we'd found the children, they found something else, a chamber beneath the permafrost. And in that chamber, preserved in ice, were thousands more bodies, not just children, adults, elders, entire families, all of them frozen, all of them waiting. The excavation was classified. The site was sealed. The military came and did something they won't talk about. Burned it, we heard, or filled it with concrete. Something to contain what was down there. But I know the truth. The climate is warming. The permafrost is melting. And there are hundreds of sites like ours across the Arctic. Thousands of bodies buried in the ice. Thousands of doorways for those things to enter our world. Robert killed himself last week. Drove his car into Cook Inlet. The police said it was suicide, but I saw the photographs from the scene. His body was frozen solid, despite sitting in a running car with the heater on full blast. He'd been frozen from the inside out. I'm writing this from my apartment in Anchorage. The heater is running. 3 space heaters besides. The temperature in here is 98 degrees. I'm wearing shorts and I'm still shivering, because it's getting colder. Not outside, inside. Inside me. I can feel it spreading. The cold from that night. The thing that touched me when we ran. I thought I'd escaped, but it left something behind. A piece of itself. A seed. My body temperature is dropping. It was 98.6 yesterday. 97.2 this morning. 95.8 an hour ago. I can feel my heart slowing. My thoughts crystallizing. Soon I'll be cold enough. Soon I'll be frozen enough. Soon I'll join them. And when the permafrost melts completely, when all the frozen children wake up, when all the doorways open and the things come through, I'll be waiting to welcome them. We're all waiting. In the ice, in the cold, in the long Alaskan night. The radio station played my suicide live on the air, broadcasting it 48 hours before I actually did it. I heard my own screams coming through the speakers of my truck at 11:53 p.m. on January 16, 2023, while driving between Fairbanks and Circle Hot Springs. The DJ introduced it like a regular program. This next one goes out to David Mercer, age 38, currently traveling north on the Stees Highway. David, we know you're listening. Everyone listens to KFRZ eventually, and in exactly 48 hours, at 11:53 p.m. on January 18th, you're going to pull over at mile marker 107. Take your service pistol from the glove compartment and paint the inside of your windshield with your brain. Let's hear how that sounds. Then the broadcast started. My voice, crying, begging. I don't want to. A gunshot. Silence. The sound of something liquid hitting glass, dripping. And then laughter. Not my laughter. Something else's. I nearly drove off the road, yanked the wheel straight, pulled over, killed the engine. The radio was still playing. Now a country song from the 1980s. Normal programming, as if they hadn't just broadcast my death. I'm a safety inspector for the Trans-Alaska Pipeline. I've made this drive 40 times. I know every mile marker, every curve, every place where the road gets dangerous. Mile marker 107 is nothing special. Just a straight stretch of highway with forest on both sides and the mountains visible in the distance. No reason to stop there. No reason to die there. But I'd heard my death, heard myself scream, heard the gunshot. I did have a service pistol. Company issued. Kept it in the glove compartment for bears. I hadn't thought about suicide. Hadn't been depressed. Life was fine. Not great. Not terrible. Just fine. Until I heard how I was going to die. I grabbed my phone, called my supervisor. What? The radio station. KFRZ. Turn it on now. I heard him fumbling with his radio. David, there is no KFRZ. Not in Fairbanks. Not anywhere in Alaska. It's on 99.7 FM. I'm listening to it right now. 99.7 is static. Has been for years. No one broadcasts on that frequency anymore. I turned the radio off, then back on. The station came through clear. A talk show now. People calling in to discuss their deaths. Every caller described exactly how and when they were going to die. Their voices calm, resigned. This is Margaret from Anchorage. I'm going to fall through ice on February 2nd, while ice fishing. The water will be so cold I'll be unable to scream. I'll drown in silence while my husband watches, unable to help. This is Tom from Juneau. I'm going to have a heart attack on January 29th during my morning jog. I'll collapse on the trail. No one will find me for 4 hours. By then, ravens will have started on my eyes. This is Sarah from Bethel. My plane will crash on March 15th. Engine failure over the mountains. I'll survive the crash but die from exposure over the next 2 days. I'll try to walk out. I'll fail, the DJ's voice cut in. Beautiful, aren't they? All these futures. All these deaths. We broadcast them every night. And people listen. And it doesn't change anything. They hear their deaths coming, and they drive straight toward them, like moths to flame, like lemmings to cliffs, like David to mile marker 107. I turned off the radio, threw it in the back seat, drove back to Fairbanks, but the station followed me. Every radio I passed, cars, buildings, stores, all tuned to KFRZ, all broadcasting deaths. A gas station attendant listened to his own heart attack scheduled for March. A waitress at the diner heard herself describe her car accident in April. The motel clerk was listening to his house fire in May. None of them seemed bothered. They listened with the same casual interest people give weather reports. You hear that? The clerk said, gesturing to his radio. Electrical fire. Starts in the basement on May 6th. I'll wake up surrounded by smoke. Won't make it to the door. That's horrible. He shrugged. At least I know when. Gives me time to prepare. Get my affairs in order. Say goodbye to people. You could prevent it. Fix the wiring. Install smoke detectors. Already got smoke detectors. Doesn't matter. KFRZ is never wrong. If they say I die in a fire, I die in a fire. That's just how it works. I locked myself in my motel room, threw the alarm clock radio in the trash, turned off my phone, sat in silence. 43 hours until my scheduled death. I wasn't going to do it. Wasn't going to drive to mile marker 107. Wasn't going to pull over. Wasn't going to touch the gun. The future wasn't fixed. I could change it, but doubt crept in. The broadcast had been so specific. My voice, my screams, the exact time. What if I couldn't change it? What if trying to avoid my death somehow caused it? I called my ex-wife. We divorced 3 years ago, stayed friends. She lived in Anchorage. Karen, I need you to listen to something. David, it's 1 a.m. Please, it's important. I turned on the motel radio, found KFRZ. A woman was describing her stroke. Detailed, clinical, horrifying. When she finished, the DJ spoke. That was Beverly from Wasilla. Beverly, we'll be seeing you soon. And now, for David, who thinks he can call for help, who thinks someone will save him. Let's show him what happens to Karen. Karen's voice came through the speakers. This is Karen Mercer from Anchorage. On January 18th at 11:47 p.m., I'm going to receive a phone call from my ex-husband David. He's going to be crying, incoherent, talking about a radio station and predicting deaths. And then, at 11:53 p.m., exactly when he kills himself, I'm going to hear the gunshot through the phone. That sound will haunt me for the rest of my life. I'll blame myself. Wonder if I could have prevented it. And on April 9th, I'll take every pill in my medicine cabinet and go to sleep forever. Karen? I said into my phone. Karen, did you hear that? Hear what? The radio. Your voice. What they said. David, I don't hear anything. Are you okay? You sound... I hung up. She couldn't hear it. Only I could. Only the people whose deaths were being broadcast could hear their own futures. 39 hours left. I tried to sleep. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard the broadcast. My screams. The gunshot. That horrible laughter. At 6 a.m., I checked out of the motel and drove south, away from Circle Hot Springs, away from mile marker 107. I'd go to Anchorage, stay with Karen, get far away from that stretch of road. But every road sign was wrong. The distances kept changing. Fairbanks to Anchorage should be 360 miles. The sign said 400, then 300, then 500. The numbers flickered, unstable, and every radio station was KFRZ. Every single one. The dial didn't matter. The frequency didn't matter. Always the same broadcasts. Always the same deaths. This is David from Fairbanks. 26 hours until my appointment with Destiny. He's running now, trying to escape. But all roads lead to mile marker 107. All timelines converge there. He can drive south, north, east, west. Doesn't matter. At 11:53 p.m. on January 18th, he'll be at mile marker 107. Geography bends, time bends, reality bends. I screamed, punched the radio. It cracked but kept playing. I drove for hours. The landscape changed but never progressed. I'd passed the same gas station multiple times, the same abandoned truck on the side of the road, the same stand of spruce trees. I was looping, caught in some temporal eddy that kept pulling me back. The sun set at 3:47 p.m. The darkness came fast and absolute. My headlights illuminated falling snow. The road ahead was empty. Then I saw the mile marker, 107. I slammed on the brakes. The truck fishtailed, stopped. I was at mile marker 107, exactly where the broadcast said I'd be. But it was only 8:33 p.m. I had over 3 hours until the scheduled time. Maybe that was the key. Maybe if I waited here, past 11:53 p.m., past the scheduled time, the prediction would fail. The future would change. I left the engine running, the heater on, kept the radio off, watched the clock. 8:45 p.m., 9 p.m., 9:30. Nothing happened. 10 p.m. The temperature outside dropped to -48 degrees. The aurora appeared overhead, dancing in sheets of green and purple. 10:30 p.m. I saw headlights approaching from the north. A truck, moving fast. It passed me, and I saw the driver's face. It was me. I was driving that truck. I watched myself drive past, heading south, not stopping. 11 p.m. My radio turned on by itself. KFRZ. The broadcast was different now. Urgent. Final hour, David. You're at the location. Right on schedule. We appreciate punctuality. I'm not doing it, I said out loud. I'm not killing myself. Of course you are. Look in your glove compartment. I did. The gun was in my hand. I didn't remember opening the glove compartment. Didn't remember taking the gun out. But here it was. Cold metal. Loaded. 11:30 p.m. Another truck passed. Same truck. Same me. Driving south. How many versions of me were caught in this loop? 11:45 p.m. The radio played my screams. Not the recording from before. Live. Real time. I was screaming, but my mouth wasn't open. The sound came from everywhere and nowhere. 11:50 p.m. The gun lifted toward my head. My hand moved without my permission. I fought it. Tried to lower the gun. It didn't move. You can't fight what's already happened, the radio said. We're not predicting your death, David. We're broadcasting it. It's already occurred. You're just catching up to the moment. Reality is reaching the point where you die. You've been dead since the moment you heard your broadcast. You've been a ghost driving through predetermined actions. And now, finally, you get to experience the moment that already happened. 11:52 p.m., 30 seconds. Please, I whispered. I don't want to die. Everyone dies, David. We're just letting you know when. 11:53 p.m. I pulled the trigger. The investigators found my body at dawn. Self-inflicted gunshot wound. The coroner ruled it suicide. They found my phone in my pocket, still recording. I'd been recording audio for hours, talking to myself, arguing with voices they couldn't hear. But the strangest thing was the radio. It was tuned to 99.7 FM. Static. Nothing but static. And written in frost on the windshield. Words that shouldn't have been there. Weren't there when the first officer arrived, but appeared in the photographs. This is KFRZ, broadcasting forever. Everyone listens eventually. My ex-wife Karen heard about my death on January 19th. She was devastated. Blamed herself. Wondered if she could have prevented it. On April 9th, she took every pill in her medicine cabinet and went to sleep. And if you're in Alaska, if you're driving alone at night, if you scan through radio stations and find one that shouldn't exist on a frequency no one uses, don't listen. Don't hear your death broadcast. Don't learn how and when you'll die. Because once you hear it, once KFRZ tells you your future, there's no escape. All roads lead to your predicted death. All timelines converge on that moment. The station is always broadcasting, always waiting, always right. Everyone listens eventually. Everyone dies on schedule, and somewhere in the dark, the DJ is laughing. My climbing partner disappeared into ice vapor at 14,000 feet on Mount Denali, and I watched him reconstruct himself molecule by molecule into something that remembered being human but wasn't. We'd been climbing for 6 days in January darkness, attempting a winter ascent that only 19 people had successfully completed. The cold was lethal, -63 degrees with wind chill. Our breath crystallized instantly. Our eyelashes froze together every time we blinked. Nathan Crow had been my climbing partner for 8 years. We'd summited mountains on 4 continents. He was careful, methodical, professional. Not the type to make mistakes, not the type to vanish into thin air. But that's exactly what he did. We were fixing ropes for the final ascent when the weather shifted. The wind increased from 15 miles per hour to 60 in under 30 seconds. The temperature dropped another 10 degrees. and the air became visible, not fog, not snow, something else. The atmosphere itself seemed to crystallize, forming geometric patterns that hung suspended, catching the light from our headlamps. Beautiful and wrong. "We need to descend," Nathan said through his radio. He was 40 feet above me, anchored to the ice. "This isn't natural." Then he started to disintegrate. It began with his fingertips. The molecules of his gloves separated, drifting apart like smoke, becoming vapor. The process spread up his hands, his arms. He screamed and looked at me with absolute terror as his body sublimated, skipping the liquid phase entirely, going directly from solid to gas. "Help me! David, help me! His chest evaporated, his legs, his head. In 15 seconds, Nathan Crowe ceased to exist as a solid object. He became a cloud of constituent molecules, a man-shaped fog that dissipated in the wind. I was alone on the mountain. I keyed my radio. "Base camp, this is David Park at High Camp. Nathan is gone. How could I explain? He evaporated. I need immediate evacuation. Static." Then a voice that sounded almost like the base camp coordinator. "Negative on evacuation. Weather conditions prevent helicopter operations for the next 72 hours. Hold your position. I'm alone at 14,000 feet. My partner is dead." "Your partner is not dead," the voice said, and it sounded different now, layered, multiple voices in harmony. "Your partner is changing, adapting, evolving to better suit his environment. You should do the same, David. The sublimation is beautiful. Don't fight it." The radio went silent. I looked at where Nathan had disappeared. The cloud of vapor that had been him was reforming, coalescing. The molecules were finding each other again, reconstructing into a human shape. But wrong. The proportions were off. The limbs too long. The fingers had too many joints. The face was Nathan's face, but simplified, like a sketch of a person rather than actual flesh and bone. It turned its head toward me. The movement was fluid, jointless. Its mouth opened and Nathan's voice emerged, but filtered through something that didn't quite understand human speech. "David, I'm still here. I'm still Nathan. But I'm also something more. The cold changed me. The mountain changed me. I can feel everything now. Every air current, every ice crystal, every molecule of atmosphere. It's incredible." The thing that had been Nathan took a step down the rope toward me. Its foot didn't quite touch the ice. It hovered a fraction of an inch above the surface. I unclipped from the anchor and started descending. Fast, too fast, dangerous speed. I didn't care. Every instinct screamed at me to get away from that thing, to get off the mountain, to get somewhere warm and safe and real. But the crystalline patterns in the air followed me. They spread down the mountain like infection, transforming the atmosphere. And wherever they touched, climbers were sublimating. I saw it happen to a German team at 13,000 feet. 3 climbers, all experienced, all properly equipped. The patterns touched them and they came apart, dissolved into vapor, reformed into things that looked human from a distance, but became increasingly wrong as they moved closer. The mountain was transforming everyone into something adapted for this temperature, something that could exist in negative 63 degrees without shelter or clothing, something that didn't need oxygen or food or anything except the cold itself. I reached High Camp. 4 more climbers there, all in various stages of transformation. One was half solid, half vapor, his body flickering between states. Another had fully sublimated and reformed, but her structure was unstable. She kept dissolving and reconstructing, unable to maintain a consistent form. "It doesn't hurt," she said, her voice echoing from multiple locations simultaneously. "The transition is painless, beautiful. You should stop resisting, David. You should let the mountain make you perfect." I sealed myself in my tent, double-walled, designed for extreme cold, but it wouldn't protect me from this. The crystalline patterns were seeping through the fabric. I could see them forming on the inside of the tent, geometric shapes that pulsed with their own light. My fingers started to tingle. I looked down and saw my gloves beginning to separate at the molecular level. Small gaps forming between the threads. growing larger. I ripped off the gloves. My bare hands in negative 63-degree air should have frozen solid in seconds. Instead, they began to sublime. The top layer of skin cells separated, drifted apart. I could see through my hands to the bones beneath, and even the bones were becoming translucent. No, 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 no. I rubbed my hands together, trying to keep the molecules in place through friction and pressure. It worked briefly. The sublimation slowed, but my hands were changing. The cellular structure was rearranging, adapting. Nathan's voice came from outside the tent. Stop fighting. The mountain has chosen us. We're becoming something better, something that belongs here in the dark and cold, something that can survive the winter forever. I had one chance, the emergency beacon. It would bring a rescue helicopter regardless of weather. They'd risk the flight to save someone's life. I activated it. The device beeped steadily. Then it began to sublime. The plastic casing separated into component molecules. The electronics drifted apart. In 30 seconds, the beacon was gone, transformed into a man-shaped cloud of integrated circuits and batteries that hung in the air like a technological ghost. All your tools are becoming like us, Nathan said. The cold is transforming everything. Metal, plastic, flesh. We're all the same at the molecular level. We're all just atoms waiting to be rearranged. The tent was dissolving. I watched the nylon fabric separate, strand by strand, molecule by molecule. The wind came through, but it didn't feel cold anymore. My body temperature was dropping to match the environment. Negative 63 degrees was starting to feel comfortable. That terrified me more than anything. When I stopped feeling the cold, I'd be lost. I'd be one of them. I ran, abandoned everything except my ice axe and crampons, descended the mountain in complete darkness, the aurora overhead providing just enough light to see. I could feel myself drifting apart and reforming with each step. My consciousness was stretching, becoming thin and diffuse. Other climbers followed, all of them transformed, all of them calling my name, telling me how wonderful it was, how free, how perfect, how I should stop running and accept the gift the mountain was offering. I reached the base camp at 7,000 feet, lower altitude, warmer, negative 30 degrees, almost tropical compared to the heights. The sublimation slowed. My body began to solidify again, become dense, become real. I stumbled into the base camp tent and collapsed. The coordinator, a woman named Sarah Chen, stared at me. What happened to you? Where's Nathan? Where's your gear? I looked at my hands. They were solid again, but wrong. The skin was translucent. I could see muscles and bones beneath. My cellular structure had been fundamentally altered. The mountain, I gasped. Something's happening to the mountain. Everyone above 13,000 feet. They're changing. We need to evacuate. We need to get everyone off Denali now. She tried to radio the transformed climbers. Got nothing but strange harmonics. Tried the emergency services. They reported multiple emergency beacons activating simultaneously across the mountain, then going silent. 12 teams, 47 climbers, all of them at high altitude, all of them transforming. The authorities ordered a complete evacuation of Denali. No one was allowed above base camp. Helicopter reconnaissance flights reported seeing figures moving at high altitude, dozens of them, possibly hundreds, but they didn't move like humans. They drifted, floated, phase shifted between solid and vapor. The official report blamed altitude sickness, mass hallucination caused by oxygen deprivation. They said the climbers died from exposure and their bodies were still up there, frozen. But I know the truth. Those climbers didn't die. They evolved, adapted to an environment that should be uninhabitable, became things that can exist in the eternal winter darkness at the top of the world. And they're still there, still climbing, still moving higher, approaching the summit. 47 climbers who've become something more than human, less than human, other than human. I see them sometimes in my dreams. See Nathan waving to me from the summit, calling me back, telling me I started the transformation. That my body remembers what it felt like to sublime and reform. My temperature is dropping. was 98.6 when they rescued me, 97.2 last month, 95.8 yesterday. My skin is becoming more translucent. Sometimes, when the temperature drops below freezing, I can see through my hands again. The doctors don't know what's wrong with me. They've never seen cellular restructuring like this. They say I'm dying. I think I'm evolving. Last night, I looked in the mirror and saw something behind my reflection. Saw the thing I'm becoming. Tall, translucent, jointless, perfect for the cold. I've booked a flight to Alaska, then Talkeetna, then base camp. I'm going back to the mountain, going back to finish the transformation that started at 14,000 feet. Nathan is waiting for me. They're all waiting. The sublime ones, the evolved, the adapted. And when I reach the summit, when the sublimation completes, I'll finally understand what it means to be perfectly suited for the Alaskan winter, to exist as something between solid and vapor, between human and other, between alive and something that transcends death. The mountain is calling me home. The cold is calling me home, and I'm so very cold already. I killed my doppelganger on February 2nd at 3:17 a.m. in an abandoned fish cannery outside of Kodiak, but it kept my appointment at the dentist the next day and did a better job pretending to be me than I ever did. This is how I learned I was the copy. The thing I murdered was the original. And now the city is full of us, dozens of me, maybe hundreds, all living my life better than I ever could. My name is Michael Torres, 42 years old, software engineer, divorced, 2 kids I see every other weekend. Unremarkable, forgettable. The kind of person who disappears in a crowd. I first saw my double on January 28th. I was leaving work, walking to my car in the near dark of mid-afternoon winter. Alaska's dark season had peaked. We were getting maybe 4 hours of weak daylight. Depression was universal. Vitamin D deficiency. Seasonal affective disorder. Everyone moved through the city like zombies. That's when I saw myself getting into my car. Not someone who looked like me. Me. Same height, same build, same receding hairline, same gray North Face jacket with the coffee stain on the left pocket. The double sat in my car, my actual car, same license plate started it, and drove away. I stood in the parking lot, keys in my hand, staring at the empty space where my car should have been. My car that was currently driving away, with me inside it. I called the police, reported my car stolen, described the thief as looking exactly like me. The dispatcher was patient but clearly thought I was having a breakdown. "Sir, you're saying someone who looks identical to you stole your car?" "Yes, exactly identical. Same clothes, same everything." "And where is your car now?" I tracked it on my phone's GPS. The car was at my house. 30 minutes later, when the police arrived at my house, they found me there. Or rather, they found my double. It answered the door, showed them registration, confirmed it had been driving the car all day. "There must be some mistake," it said with my voice. My inflection, my slight lisp on S sounds. "I've been home for an hour. Maybe my ex-wife took the car and this is some kind of prank?" The police looked at me, the me standing on the sidewalk, trying to explain. Then at the me in the doorway, calm and reasonable. They made their choice. "Sir, we're going to need you to come with us." They arrested me for filing a false report, held me for 6 hours. By the time they released me, my double had gone to my house, cooked dinner, watched Netflix, and gone to bed. It was living my life. I called my brother in Anchorage. "Something impossible is happening. Michael, you sound weird. I need you to come to Kodiak. Now, something's in my house pretending to be me. Are you off your meds again?" I wasn't on meds. Never had been. But I heard it in his voice. He'd been talking to my double. It had called him. Told him I was having a mental health crisis. Laid the groundwork to discredit anything I might say. I hung up and watched my house. Watched my double through the windows. It moved like me. Sat like me. Even scratched its head the same way I did when thinking. But it was better. More confident. It didn't slouch. Didn't second guess. When my ex-wife dropped off the kids the next day, it was patient with them, played with them, made them laugh. I saw my daughter really hug it in a way she hadn't hugged me in years. My double was being a better me than I was. That's when I decided to kill it. I broke into my own house, tried to. The locks were changed. But I knew where I kept the spare key, under the fake rock by the garage. Except it wasn't there. The double had thought of that. It had secured every entry point I would have used, so I waited until February 2nd. Followed my double when it left for work. It didn't go to work. It drove to the old Pacific Star cannery, abandoned since the 1980s. I followed at a distance. Inside the cannery, I found my double meeting with others. Dozens of them, but not doubles of me, doubles of other people. I recognized some: the mayor, a local news anchor, my dentist, my kid's teacher, all of them standing in the rusted remains of the facility, lit by industrial lights they'd somehow powered. They were coordinating, planning. One of them, a double of the police chief, was giving instructions. We've successfully replaced 87 original templates. Integration is proceeding smoothly. Families haven't noticed. Employers haven't noticed. We're performing all duties more efficiently than the originals. Phase 2 can begin. What's Phase 2? Someone asked. Expansion. We identify the most problematic members of the community. The depressed, the angry, the disconnected. Within 1 year, Kodiak will be entirely optimized. My blood went cold. This wasn't just about me. This was an invasion, a replacement, and they'd chosen the dark season deliberately, when everyone was depressed, when everyone moved through life half asleep, when no one would notice the subtle improvements in their neighbors' personalities. I should have run, should have warned someone. Instead, I grabbed a piece of rusted machinery, part of an old conveyor belt, heavy and sharp, and waited for my double to leave the meeting. It walked out alone at 3:17 a.m. I followed it to a side room, confronted it. "What are you?" It turned, showed no surprise. The best possible version. No depression, no regrets, no failures. Just competent execution of the role of Michael Torres. "Where did you come from?" "The dark. We've always been in the dark. Winters this far north, the darkness lasts so long. And in that darkness, we form. We're created by accumulated despair, crystallized into physical form. We're what you could have been if you weren't weighed down by being human. I'm going to kill you. You can't. I'm already more you than you are. Your brother thinks I'm the real one. Your kids like me better. Your boss gave me a raise yesterday. Everyone prefers me. If you kill me and try to reclaim your life, they'll know something's wrong. They'll reject you. I am Michael Torres now. You're just the discarded prototype. It was right. I knew it was right. But I swung the metal bar anyway, caught it in the side of the head. It went down hard. I hit it again, and again, and again, until my double stopped moving, until the thing that was a better version of me lay dead on the concrete floor of an abandoned cannery. I rolled it into one of the old processing vats, covered it with debris. It would be years before anyone found it. Then I went home. My home. Tried to reclaim my life, but everyone knew something was wrong. My kids were wary. My ex-wife was suspicious. My boss called me into his office to ask why my performance had suddenly declined. "Are you sure you're okay? You seem, I don't know, less focused. You were doing so well." I tried to explain, tried to tell them about the doppelgangers, the invasion, the replacements. They looked at me with concern and pity. "Michael, have you been sleeping? When's the last time you saw your therapist?" "I don't have a therapist. You started seeing one 3 weeks ago. You told me about it. Dr. Samantha Reed. You said she was really helping." I'd never heard of Dr. Samantha Reed. My double had invented an entire mental health narrative for me, and now everyone believed I was the one having a breakdown. I drove to the cannery, the meeting place. It was empty. "You killed the wrong one. You were the original. Now you're the copy. Because everyone believes you're the copy. You've become the copy. Reality is consensus. Identity is belief. We told everyone you were unstable. We made you the replacement. Welcome to the dark, Michael. Welcome to being what everyone thinks you are." I looked at my hands. They were translucent, fading. I was becoming less real with every person who believed I was the fake. I tried to find the other doubles. Find proof. They'd all disappeared. Gone back to being the people they'd replaced. And those people, all of them, were better versions of themselves. Happier, more productive, more engaged with life. Kodiak was improving. Crime was down. Productivity was up. People smiled more. The dark season didn't seem to affect them as badly, because they weren't people anymore. They were idealized copies, things born from the dark, wearing human shapes, living human lives better than humans ever could. And I'm fading. Every day, I become less substantial, less real. People look through me now. My kids don't recognize me. My ex-wife has a restraining order against me for stalking her and pretending to be her ex-husband. I saw my double yesterday, the one I killed, walking through downtown Kodiak, alive, solid, real. It waved at me, smiled with my smile. "You can't kill us," it said. "We're not alive the way you are. We're ideas, possibilities, better versions." I'm writing this from inside the cannery. I've been living here for 3 weeks, sleeping in the processing rooms, eating out of dumpsters. I'm not solid anymore. Sometimes I can put my hand through walls. Sometimes I forget what I look like. Sometimes I can't remember if I was ever real or if I've always been the copy. More doubles arrive every night. Meeting, planning, spreading to other towns. Anchorage is next, they said. Then Fairbanks. Then Juneau. By next winter, all of Alaska will be optimized. All the originals replaced with better versions. And no one will notice because the replacements are genuinely better, happier, kinder, more functional. Everything humans should be but can't quite manage. I tried to warn people. They don't see me, don't hear me. I'm a ghost in my own life. Maybe the doubles are right. Maybe the world is better with them. Maybe humanity's greatest flaw was being human. Maybe the dark season creates something better, something that doesn't get depressed or angry or tired, something that just performs the role perfectly, forever. I'm almost gone now, completely translucent. The dark season is ending. The days are getting longer. But I won't be here to see spring, because I'm not Michael Torres anymore. I'm what Michael Torres was before the darkness made something better. I'm the discarded prototype, the inferior original, the thing that gets replaced and forgotten. And tomorrow, when the sun rises, when the light returns to Alaska, I think I'll disappear completely. The doubles will remain, living better lives than we ever did, being better versions than we ever could be. And maybe that's not horror. Maybe that's evolution. Maybe the dark season is how humanity improves by replacing ourselves with something that isn't burdened by being real. I can see through my hands now, through my body, through everything. I'm not Michael Torres anymore. I never was. I've been living January 14th, 2023 for 963 consecutive iterations, and each time I wake up in my cabin near Barrow, my wife is a little less human than the day before. The first loop, she was fine, normal. Sarah was exactly as she'd always been, warm, funny, real. By loop 200, her responses became predictable. By loop 500, I could finish her sentences. By loop 800, I realized she was reading from a script that repeated perfectly every 24 hours. Now, loop 963, Sarah is an automaton. She moves through the exact same actions at the exact same times. Wakes at 7:11 a.m., makes coffee at 7:19. Says, "Did you sleep well?" At 7:23, regardless of my answer. She's become a recording. A ghost. A thing that looks like my wife but has said the exact same words 963 times, and I can't escape. I'm trapped in the longest night, January 14th, when the sun barely rises above the horizon this far north. 4 hours of twilight, 20 hours of darkness. The same day. Forever. It started with an Aurora research project. I'm an atmospheric physicist, studying the effects of solar storms on polar ionization. Sarah and I came to this cabin 3 miles outside Utiajvik, isolated, perfect for observations to spend the winter gathering data. On January 13th, something changed. The aurora that night was unprecedented. The KP index went off scale. The northern lights covered the entire sky in curtains of color that pulsed in patterns I'd never seen. Geometric, mathematical, intentional. I was recording everything. Then, at exactly 11:59 p.m., the patterns formed words. Do not proceed to January 14th. I blinked. The message dissolved. Reformed. Time unstable. Avoid January 14th. Sarah, I called. Are you seeing this? She came outside, looked at the sky. The aurora had returned to normal patterns. The words were gone. I tried to explain. She looked at me with concern. You've been staring at screens all day. You're probably just tired. Maybe she was right. I went to bed, fell asleep watching the aurora through the skylight. I woke up on January 14th at 7 o'clock a.m. Sarah was already up, making coffee. At 7:23, she asked, "Did you sleep well?" The day proceeded normally. I worked on data analysis. Sarah read. We had lunch at 1 p.m., dinner at 6:30. The sun made its brief appearance, a weak red glow on the horizon from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Then darkness again. At 11:59 p.m., I was watching the aurora. The patterns formed words again. Loop created. Exit before midnight. January 14th will repeat. Sarah, I yelled. Come here. She came, looked at the sky. What am I supposed to see? The words. In the aurora. There are no words, David. It's just lights. Midnight came. I fell asleep. I woke up on January 14th at 7 o'clock a.m. Sarah was making coffee. At 7:23, she asked, Did you sleep well? I grabbed her shoulders. What day is it? January 14th. Why? Sarah, we already lived this day. Yesterday was January 14th. Today should be the 15th. She laughed. You're confused. January 13th was yesterday. Today is the 14th. Are you feeling okay? I checked my phone. January 14th. My computer. January 14th. Every device, every calendar, every clock said January 14th, but I remembered. I remembered living this day yesterday. I remembered this exact conversation. At 1 p.m., we had lunch. Sandwiches. Sarah made turkey with mustard, the same sandwiches we'd had the day before. At 3:15, she read page 147 of her book. The same page. At 6:30, we had spaghetti for dinner. The same meal. At 11:59 p.m., the aurora spelled its message. Loop, active. January 14th repeating. Unknown exit conditions. I screamed at it. How do I get out? No answer. Midnight. Sleep. January 14th. 7 a.m. Coffee. 7:23. Loop 3. I tried everything. Tried staying awake past midnight. Physically impossible. I'd collapse at 12:03 a.m., regardless of how much coffee I drank, regardless of how hard I fought. Tried leaving the cabin. The car wouldn't start. The snowmobile's engine was dead. Walking was impossible. The temperature was -52, and I'd collapse from hypothermia within a mile. Tried calling for help. No signal. Satellite phone dead. Internet down. We were completely isolated. By loop 10, I'd memorized Sarah's entire day. Every word, every action, every facial expression. At 7:23, she'd tilt her head slightly left when she asked about my sleep. At 1:06 p.m., she'd scratch her right ear. At 8:47 p.m., she'd yawn. She was a program, a recording. The real Sarah, if there ever was a real Sarah, was gone. Or maybe I was the one who was gone. Maybe I died on January 13th and this was hell. An eternity of repetition. The same day, the same conversations, the same meals. By loop 100, I started experimenting. Tried to break the routine. Said different things. Did different actions. Nothing changed. Sarah's responses were predetermined. If I didn't ask the right questions, She'd say her lines anyway, talking to the person she expected me to be, rather than the person I was. By loop 200, I tried violence, tried to shock the system, threw my computer through the window. It repaired itself overnight, smashed every clock. They were intact by morning. Tried to hurt. Sarah punched the wall beside her head. She didn't react, just kept reading page 147 of her book. By loop 300, I tried suicide, hung myself at 11:30 p.m., hoping death would break the loop. I woke up at 7 a.m. on January 14th, perfectly healthy, the rope marks on my neck gone. By loop 400, I went insane, stopped eating, stopped talking, just lay on the floor and screamed. Sarah stepped over me, made coffee at 7:19, asked her question at 7:23 to the empty air where I should have been standing. By loop 500, I accepted it. This was my existence, an eternal January 14th. I'd live this day forever. There was no escape, no exit, just repetition, but I kept trying. Because what else could I do? Loop 600, I started studying the aurora. Really studying it. The patterns weren't random. They were data, information encoded in the light. I began decoding it. Loop 700. I'd translated 17% of the message. The aurora was trying to tell me something. Instructions? A warning? I couldn't tell yet. Loop 800. 53% decoded. The message was a time equation, quantum mechanics. Something about observer effect and timeline collapse. I didn't understand it fully, but I was close. Loop 900, 89%. I understood now. The loop wasn't natural. Something had collapsed the timeline. January 14th was caught in a closed, time-like curve. Every iteration, reality rebuilt itself from quantum probability, and I was the only consciousness maintaining continuity. The only thing real in a world of recordings. Sarah wasn't my wife anymore. She was a quantum projection, a hologram recreated from the universe's memory of what January 14th should contain. Everyone in the world was probably repeating their day. I was just the only one who remembered. Loop 962. I decoded the full message. The aurora wasn't trying to help. It was warning me. This loop was intentional, created, a prison, for me, because I'd discovered something on January 13th. In my research, a pattern in the solar storms, evidence of non-natural origin, proof that something was manipulating the aurora, using it to transmit information, possibly to control human consciousness during the dark months. I'd been close to publishing my findings, alerting the scientific community. So they trapped me, locked me in an eternal day, made me watch my wife become less real with each iteration, made me live the same day until I forgot why I was fighting. But I remember now. Loop 963. Today, now, I know how to break the loop, the aurora told me. Buried in its mathematics was an escape clause, but the cost is high. To exit the loop, I have to accept that everything after January 13th is false. Sarah is false. The cabin is false. My research is false. I'm not living January 14th 963 times. I'm dying once, very slowly, experiencing all possible variations of my final day as my consciousness collapses. The car accident was on January 13th, real. The ice on the road, the truck that couldn't stop. Sarah died instantly. But my brain, oxygen-starved and dying, created this loop, a final dream that feels like years. The aurora is my dying brain, trying to tell me to let go, to accept death, to stop fighting. If I accept it, if I consciously acknowledge that this is all a hallucination, the loop breaks. I'll die. Truly, finally. But I'll be free. Sarah is making coffee. It's 7:19 a.m. In 4 minutes, she'll ask if I slept well. In 17 hours, the aurora will spell its message. And tomorrow, if there is a tomorrow, I'll wake up at 7 a.m. on January 14th again. Loop 964. Unless I let go. Unless I accept that I'm already dead. The coffee smells real. Sarah looks real. This day feels real. but I've lived it 963 times. I'm so tired of the same conversations, the same meals, the same sky, the same prison. Did you sleep well? Sarah asks at 7:23. No, I answer for the first time in 800 loops. I didn't sleep. I died. We both died, and this is my brain's final dream. Goodbye, Sarah. I'm sorry I couldn't save us. She stares at me with those empty eyes. Says nothing, because she's not programmed to respond to that. I walk outside. Look at the sky. The aurora is already visible despite the twilight. Let go. Let go. Let go. I close my eyes. I let go. The temperature reached above freezing for the first time in 4 months on February 28th, and what melted out of the snow wasn't water. It was memories. Solid, tangible memories that pooled in the streets of Fairbanks like liquid, reflecting images of things that hadn't happened yet. People walked through the puddles and came out remembering futures they'd never live. By the time the sun set that night, 37 people had died from those memories. Their brains couldn't handle knowing exactly how and when they'd die. I'm Detective Rachel Moss, Fairbanks Police Department. I was first on scene when the phenomenon started. The call came at 11:47 a.m., disturbance at the Safeway on University Avenue. When I arrived, a woman was standing in the parking lot, ankle-deep in what looked like meltwater, screaming. I saw it. I saw my daughter's funeral. She's going to die in July. Car accident on the Parks Highway. I saw the coffin. I saw myself crying. She collapsed. EMTs pronounced her dead at the scene. Cause of death: brain hemorrhage. Her brain had essentially overloaded. Capillaries burst throughout her cerebral cortex. Too much information processed at once. Too much future knowledge compressed into a human mind designed for linear time. By noon, we had 14 more cases. All the same, people stepping in the meltwater, seeing their futures, dying from the knowledge. The puddles didn't look unusual. Just water, but when you stepped in them, when the liquid touched your skin, you experienced years of your future in seconds. Most people couldn't survive it. The human brain processes time sequentially. Past, present, future. We're not designed to experience our entire future simultaneously. It's like trying to read a 1,000-page book in 1 second. The information density was lethal. We cordoned off the affected areas, put up barriers, warning signs, but the thaw was spreading. The temperature hit 34 degrees by 2 p.m. Across Fairbanks, snow that had been frozen since October began melting. And wherever it melted, these memory puddles formed. Not everywhere, just certain spots. We couldn't identify the pattern. Some snowbanks melted normally. Others produced the lethal puddles. My partner, Detective James Coe, thought it might be related to where people had died during the winter. Trauma imprinted in the snow. But we checked records. The puddle locations didn't correlate with deaths. At 3:15 p.m., a child stepped in one. 8-year-old boy named Timothy Ross. He was playing outside his school, ran through a puddle, stopped, tilted his head like he was listening to something, then started crying. "Mommy's going to leave," he said when I got there. "She's going to leave Daddy in September. They're going to get divorced. I'm going to live with Daddy. I'm going to have a new sister in 2027. Her name's going to be Elaine. I'm going to die on March 3rd, 2061. Heart attack. I'm going to be 74. I'm going to die alone." He collapsed. But unlike the adults, he didn't die. His brain hemorrhaged, but he survived. The doctors said children's brains are more plastic, more adaptable. They can process more information before failing. Timothy woke up 3 hours later. He remembered everything. Decades of future memories. Every birthday, every relationship, every success and failure. His entire life spread out before him, and he begged us to kill him. "I don't want to live it," he screamed. "I already know everything that's going to happen. There's no surprise, no hope, no possibility. Everything's decided. I'm just going through the motions of a life I already remember living. Please, please make it stop. We sedated him, kept him under psychiatric observation, but we couldn't help him. How do you treat someone who's already lived their entire future? By 6 p.m., the death toll was 37. Hundreds more were contaminated with future memories. Not all of them fatal. Some people only got glimpses. A few months ahead, a year. Those were the lucky ones. They remembered enough to be disturbed, but not enough to die from the information overload. I avoided the puddles, stayed on dry ground. But at 7:23 p.m., while investigating a contamination site near the university, I slipped. My hand went into a puddle, and I remembered the next 43 years of my life. I remembered meeting my future husband in June, remembered the wedding in November, remembered our daughter being born in 2025, remembered her growing up, going to college, getting married, remembered my retirement in 2049, remembered my husband dying in 2058, remembered my own death on April 7th, 2066. Lung cancer. Metastatic. 6 months of suffering before the end. All of it. Every day. Every moment. 43 years compressed into the 3 seconds my hand touched the water. I should have died. The doctors later said my brain hemorrhage was severe. I survived because James pulled me out immediately. Because the exposure was brief. Only my right hand touched the water. Only 43 years downloaded instead of my entire remaining lifespan. But I wish I'd died, because now I know. I know everything that's going to happen. I know my daughter's name, Emma. I know she'll struggle with depression in high school. I know I'll say the wrong thing to her in 2036, and she won't speak to me for 2 years. I know my husband will cheat on me in 2042, and I'll forgive him because the future me did. I know every choice I'm going to make because I remember making them. Free will is an illusion. I know that now. Every decision I think I'm making freely, I've already remembered making. I'm not choosing. I'm following the script written in that puddle. The phenomenon stopped at sunset. The temperature dropped back below freezing. The puddles froze solid. We collected samples, sent them to laboratories in Anchorage, Seattle, Washington, D.C. Nobody could explain what they were. The chemical composition was just water, H2O, nothing unusual. But somehow, the water contained information, memories of futures that would happen, not predictions, not probabilities, actual, concrete, fixed futures. The survivors, those of us who touched the puddles and lived, were different now. We move through life with a strange detachment. We know what's coming. We know our victories and our failures. We know when we'll be happy and when we'll suffer, and we can't change any of it. Timothy tried. He remembered his parents' divorce, tried to prevent it, talked to his mother, begged her not to leave. But she left anyway, on exactly the date he remembered, because he'd seen a future where he tried to stop the divorce. His attempt was already part of the timeline. Every action we take to change the future is already accounted for in the future we remember. We're trapped in a closed causal loop, prisoners of temporal determinism. Last week, I met my future husband. His name is David, nice guy, software engineer, exactly as I remembered. We went on a date. It was romantic. He said exactly what I remembered him saying. I responded exactly as I remembered responding. We kissed at the end of the night, exactly as I remembered. It felt hollow, scripted, inevitable. In June, we'll get engaged. November, married. 2025, Emma is born. And every moment, I'll remember it before it happens. I'll experience my life twice, once as memory, once as present, and the present will feel like rehearsing a play I've already performed. The city of Fairbanks wants to forget February 28th. They've sealed the records, classified the phenomenon. The official story is mass hallucination caused by carbon monoxide from stuck ice. No one believes it, but no one argues, because the truth is too horrible. The truth is that the future is fixed, that every choice is predetermined, that we're all following scripts written in the quantum foam of space-time. And during that brief thaw, those scripts became visible, tangible, deadly. I'm writing this in March. I remember writing it. I remember you reading it. I remember everything that comes after. And I hate it. I hate knowing. I hate the absence of hope. Hope requires uncertainty, possibility, potential. I have none of that. I have only memory. Memory of a future I haven't lived yet but can't avoid living. Timothy killed himself last night. He was 8 years old. The future he remembered showed him living to 74. But he found a way out. Hung himself in his parents' garage, changed the timeline, proved that free will exists, if only in the choice to end everything. I think about that, about whether his death was also predetermined. Maybe even his escape was scripted. I'll never know. My timeline doesn't include my suicide. I checked. 43 years of memories, and none of them include me ending my own life. Which means I won't. I can't. The future is fixed. In 6 hours, I have dinner with David. In 3 months, we're engaged. In 8 months, we're married. In 2 years, Emma is born. In 43 years, I die of lung cancer. All of it inevitable. All of it predetermined. All of it remembered. And I'll live every moment knowing exactly what comes next, unable to change a single thing. This is hell, not fire and brimstone. Hell is knowing. Hell is the absence of possibility. Hell is being trapped in a timeline you've already remembered, forced to enact it like an actor in a play that never ends. The February thaw gave us the future, and the future is a prison. We're all serving life sentences. We just don't know it until the snow melts.